Hello, everybody. My name is Aaron Zolbrod. Some of you may know me better as Aaron Zolbrod, the president and founder of the health insurance store here in Connellsville. But I am not here to talk health insurance or Medicare today. I'm actually here with a very important man, probably one of the most important men in Connellsville, Ted Koval, who is the president, correct, Ted, of the Yough River Trail Council. Yes,
I've been trying to get fired from that for 16 years.
You told me, Ted told me the other day he needs to retire from his retirement. This is, he does this. It is a volunteer position, is it not?
So they tell me.
Yeah, you're not getting, nobody's paying you to do what you do.
No.
And you do a lot. So first, before, there might be people who just don't know what, we're going to refer to that maybe as YRTC, correct. Yough River Trail Councilors, what you guys put on your T-shirts and your hats and all that stuff. And that's how a lot of people know you. But just explain what you guys do, what the council does.
Well, we were formed in 1989. We made an agreement with Ohio State Park for the original section that we took care of, which was from actually it was from Wheeler Bottom to Bruner Run. And they were shorthanded, and they said, well, we'll get the monies to build the trail, but we're going to need help in taking care of it. We just don't have the manpower.
So this was back in 1989. Okay.
89.
I'm going to ask you a little bit more about that. And it's part of the Greater Allegheny Passage, right?
It wasn't at that time.
It wasn't at the time.
The first section was between Ohio and Confluence. That was the first section.
Okay.
And then ours was second. So the deal was that they would get the money and build the trail if we agreed to maintain it.
Right. Okay.
So we agreed to cut the grass and clear the trees, and it's evolved from there. And then the other side of behind Martin's, the Horsemen's Association wanted to have a trail for their horses and stuff. They'd be off the road and things like that. So they agreed to take over the maintenance of that trail if we got it built. So I think it was Mr. Piclamini wanted to take out the coal. He wanted to strip the coal from that section. And the deal was once he took the coal out, he had to put a trail in for 5 miles, which he did. So the Horsemen's Association took that over and found out how much work it was. So after about 1 year, they said, bye.
We're done.
So that reverted back to us. Well, then
did you volunteer, or was it kind of handed to you?
Yeah, it was kind of handed, yeah. So we inherited 5 more miles of trail besides the other 10 and 11 we had. And then the city of Connellsville decided that they wanted to bring it into town, so they built the trail from the other side of Wheeler, resurfaced those 2 new bridges that are out there. Those are railroad bridges. And then,
yeah, those are, that was a newer section.
Correct.
Those bridges.
That happened after. The bridges were always there, but they were in disrepair.
You couldn't ride over them at that time.
Well, we tried. It's very scary because there was a little narrow board you had to go across. So they got, I think it was about $1 million they got to resurface, to redo those bridges. And then they brought the trail into Connellsville behind West Penn. And that was all limestone dust type trail down to that point. And then they blacktopped it, that little tiny section by St. Rita's, they put that blacktop in. And then the city got some money to do 3rd Street. They redid all that. So we, in conjunction with the city, take care of that section also. We do the flower beds and stuff along 3rd Street and help cut the grass, maintain Yough Park.
Okay, so now we're from Ohio Powell to basically to
almost Dawson.
To almost Dawson,
right.
At this point.
Right. And then the RTC came in and secured a deal with the railroads that they would take over the railroad sections, take out the rails and build that stuff. So they finished the rest of the section to Fayette County. So they came to us and said, how about take over this part?
So you started with, how many miles did you start with?
11.
And now we're up to?
23.
And you also help, right? Don't you also help with?
So the Sheepskin Trail decided they wanted to get in on the act, so they finished a 2.5 mile section from Wheeler Bottom into Dunbar. And of course, those guys were 80 years old, and they had like one little tractor that they were trying to do. So we said, they're a good friend of ours. So
right.
We said, we'll help you out. So our guys go out and once every month or so, they mow their sections.
Gotcha.
We have 2 more miles.
And don't you help out isn't there another section you guys also help out with going towards Layton?
We do. The Whitsett section down there has 5 brothers that decided they would take it on. One of them is a township supervisor for Perry Township and has some equipment, but they needed an old tractor, so we cajoled 2 or 3 other sections of the trail to ante up their match money to get so they could get a new tractor. So we donated 1,000 and got the RTC, and a couple other ones that donated 1,000. So we matched their 3,000 they needed to match their tractor purchase. So we helped them out, and then once in a while we'll go out and help them redo some of their parts of the trail. Of course, it's reciprocating. When we had some big slides,
they'll come out and help
Clarence
you.
came out and helped us and things like that. So it's a, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Gotcha. So you're participating in helping or funding in how many, like 30, I think I figured it out, I think it was almost 35 miles, wasn't it?
Just
when
about,
it's all said and done, which
and we get to do it all for free.
And you get to do it all for free. And get congratulations. And so now we're down to the Layton Witsit area.
Yes.
Now how did it connect again to Pittsburgh? Was that trail already there up to that point, or how do we get?
Well, each little section, like just 5 miles in Westmoreland County, they got a little group together. That section right there, so they got some funding and things like that. Then there's another 8 or 9 mile section in they call it the Yough. It's in Allegheny County. And then the last section they finished was from the south side of Pittsburgh into town, into where the jail is, right behind the jail.
Right by along the river there,
and
correct?
that cost them about $3 million to do that section. It's mostly blacktop. So they finished that one in 2011.
But now it runs from Pittsburgh to Washington, D.C.
Well, it goes to Cumberland, which is where our section ends. That's where the Great Allegheny Passage ends. And then the C&O Canal picks up there.
Greater Allegheny Passage is from Pittsburgh to
Cumberland, Maryland. Correct. And then the C&O Canal, which is a federal controlled trail, and it's not in real great shape, but it goes from Cumberland into Washington, D.C. So the terminus of the whole trail is actually behind the Kennedy Center in Washington.
Okay.
It's out in the middle of a big field. And
you said that trail is not, and we're going to talk about that. That trail is not nearly as well maintained as your section.
It is not.
Tell us the initial. You told me. Tell everybody what the initial budget was back in 1999.
When I took over in 2006, from '89, our annual budget was around $2,000.
$2,000. Now what do you need? What is your budget now?
Last year we spent $94,000, and $93,000 of that was locally. We resurfaced and took out the ditches. We redid the ditches last year. We bought some new equipment. We had a couple of different projects we had to do to keep the trail up. Of course, we bought a new tractor. We're in the process. I probably have about close to $200,000 worth of equipment in our.
Yeah, we're going to get to talking about that too. How did you get involved in this, and what motivated you to get involved in this? Were you a bicyclist? Were you just?
Well, I wasn't at the time. And back in 1990, the bike shop opened, and it was underneath what's the Big Six thing. That's where it was, up there by Spotto's. It was up there. A little hole in the wall type thing, and I went in just to see what was going on, and I said, I haven't ridden a bike for a long time. What do you have on sale? So they brought some things out and stuff, and I found this Cannondale. It was last year's model, and they said, we can give it to you for $600. It's a $1,000 bike. I said, what the heck? So I gave it a try, and then a friend of mine went and bought one also. So we said, you know what? Let's try something. We're going to do the MS 150 this year. I said, what is that? He says, you go from Pittsburgh to Lake Erie in 2 days. I said, we better train for that. So
yeah, that's not something you're just going to go out and do on a Sunday after drinking Saturday night.
So there's been a lot of rumblings about they're trying to finish this trail from Connellsville to Ohio. He said, let's take a little ride up through there. So we went. Of course, we couldn't get over to Wheeler Bottom across the bridges, so we went down the back way by Red Kimmel's place and came up that way. Started at Wheeler Bottom and started biking on an old railroad bed that had nothing. You had piles of the old ballast and a couple of rails were over there and stuff like that. So it took us about 3 hours to do this. It was like mountain biking.
To get to Ohio Pow. And if you get after it, you can get to Ohio Pow. I mean, guys who are pedaling pretty good can get to Ohio Pow, what, an hour, 45 minutes?
Oh, yeah, it's only 17 miles.
Yeah, so you can get there in 45 minutes or an hour if you're really getting after it. And it took you guys 3 hours.
Yeah, because it was all... And
you guys were in good shape at the time.
We were in better shape than I was before, that type of thing. So we got back pretty late in the day, and we said, well, let's find out about what they're doing with this trail. So I went to Chris Wagner, who was the what was her title back then? She was out of the Chamber of Commerce place, and she had a couple different titles. So I went and talked to her. Chris was a good friend of mine, and she was laying out all the different things they planned to do and what Dave was going to do. He was getting all these different grants and stuff. So she said, why don't you come down and listen to some of those discussions? So I went down one evening, and I got drafted into the council.
And all because you bought a bike that was on sale.
Right. I got drafted into council, and I used to come to impromptu meetings. They would call me the day of and say, we're going to have a meeting tonight. Come on down. So we would talk over different things, and that's when they were building the other section going towards Dawson. And we were trying to get that done, and then they worked on the part to get in the city, get that all finished. So we finished our part around 2005. And then Chris said she couldn't do this anymore, and Jim Schilling, who was the president, said, I'm moving. Somebody has to take over. So how about Ralph Allenbacher, who was vice president, was taking over as president. Well, Ralph was up to here writing grants for everything in the world. And he finally came to me. He says, you're going to have to take this over. He says, I can't do it.
It doesn't sound like anybody ever asked you. They just told you.
Yeah. So I was vice president at the time. So they took, they said, okay, take this over. So I kind of revamped the whole thing. I said, I can't have these impromptu meetings. We're never going to get anything done. So we're going to have meetings every month. We're going to pick a day. We're going to go with it. So at that time, we had one volunteer doing the entire trail, Clyde Marks. Clyde was in his 70s, had one little tractor and an old 1995 pickup truck that we had gotten from secondhand from somewhere. And Clyde says, it's tough doing this kind of stuff. He said, I need some help. So I went to Jim Hahn, who was just retired from West Penn. Clyde was a West Penn employee, had just retired. And the two of them clicked right away. So they worked together like Laurel and Hardy. It was a lot of fun.
You had a truck, you had a pickup truck, and an old tractor.
And a tractor. Right.
We
had just gotten a new tractor.
Was it like a one you would use in your yard, or what?
No, we got a new tractor through DCNR, but we had an old international 1948 International Harvester with a cutter that we had borrowed from Iowa. So we had those two things. Jim would ride one, and Clyde would ride the other. And once in a while, I'd follow him with the truck and do some weed whacking and things like that. So we eventually started, they knew people, I knew people. We started recruiting people and stuff. And I said, well, we need to get like maybe 11 people on the council. So their wives got involved. I got a couple other people that just moved into Connellsville.
And this is what year? Give us an idea of what year this
2006 is when I took over.
Okay.
2006. So we took over all this type of stuff, and we started saying, well, this equipment's breaking down like crazy. We need to get some new stuff. So I started shopping around. We found an old used tractor and a huge 11-foot mower that this thing, half the time the thing was broken down. And the clutch went out on the old tractor. I said, this is ridiculous. I said, we can't, I'm not spending most of my time fixing the equipment.
Right.
So we started shopping around for different stuff, and we got some deals on a new tractor, we've gone through 3 or 4 different types of mowers. I got some tourism grants because that program just came into being, and I got some grants to buy some mowers. Then the Connellsville Industrial Enterprises, I think it was the CIE. There was a bunch of older gentlemen, friends of mine, that decided that their kids didn't want to do this anymore. They didn't want to do it anymore. So they had all this money they were going to try to give away, and they came to me and said, how much do you need? I said, we could really use a new truck. He said, how much is a new truck? I said, 40,000. He says, how's 30 sound to you? I said, that'd be wonderful. He says, pick the check up tomorrow. So
that's great.
I had a $30,000 check, went out to Davies Ford, and I said, what do you have for us? So they had a last year's model, but it was brand new. It hadn't been used. Didn't have power windows, had the regular wind down windows and stuff, but it had a double cab.
It's funny, you show kids, put kids in those cars with the cranked up window, go, what the heck's that, Dad? Yeah. What is that?
And an 8-foot bed was exactly what we needed. Right. And it was a 250, which is a big horsepower, because the one we had was a 150. A Ford 150 didn't pull half the stuff.
Right.
So we got that. I shopped around for a new tractor. We bought that. It didn't seem to work very well. We lost the clutch in it. We got the clutch repaired. I said, we're not going to get this. So we got a brand new John Deere with no clutch. It's like riding a long tractor. But it was that, and the mowers and the buckets and stuff on front was $65,000. And they gave us a 5-year loan at 0% interest. So We're halfway through that right now, so we're trying to raise the money for the rest of it. So we have about $36,000 left to pay on that. We just bought a new $18,000 mower.
And let me just interrupt you for a second, if I can, Ted. This is not taxpayer funds that you guys are using, correct? So these are funds that you're getting donations, you're finding grants through foundations, through
correct.
So this is not taxpayer dollars. Which is even better, I think.
Another good friend of mine is Larry Kiefer that works with Scottsdale Bank here in town. His family, his mother left an endowment, and every year they give us $5,000.
Great.
For the last 20-some years, they've given us $5,000. So I know I have that to depend on. So at least I get $5,000 a year from them for that type of stuff. We've gotten numerous. The county has been wonderful. They've been giving us when nobody else could get grants, they would give it to us because they knew what we were doing. And hopefully we're bringing money into the county. This is what we're after.
Right, absolutely. I mean, you said I'm going to get, I'm going to get into the economy in just a second. I just want to ask you a couple, just one more thing. Give us an idea of how much, you've told me, how much work it takes to maintain and keep our section of the bike trail the best, if not the best, on the whole passage. Now, my sister visited me a couple summers ago, and all she wanted to do was get on a bike trail every day. And she's ridden, and she would do it. She looked into it, and she said, your trail is considered the best section, or the most scenic and the best in all of the Greater Allegheny Passage.
We've gotten that from not just local people, from a lot of people that bike in.
And not just the beauty, just to how well it's maintained.
Correct.
And we were having to talk with Tim. I mean, Tim from Mueller Tuck, I do need to thank him for helping us donate Jay, who's running the board. You don't see Jay, but Jay's over here running the board and doing all this stuff because I don't know what the heck's going on with all this computers and like buttons and everything. But he rides the bike trail, and he said he's ridden. It's the best. I've heard several people say it is the best maintained portion of the trail that they've been on. So, but tell everybody how much work it takes to maintain it and what you need to do.
Well, our volunteers, and I've got probably a half a dozen really great volunteers right now. We've got a couple of younger ones, believe it or not, they're in their 60s.
The younger ones are in their 60s. Listen, this is a recruitment session. We are recruiting people to help Ted right here. Yeah. So don't think we're going to ask you for money here shortly, but we're also asking you for time because, sometimes it's harder to find, it's easier to find the money than it is to find the people. Correct. I mean, I have a nonprofit myself. We struggle with volunteers constantly. You said your young guys are 60. We need people to replace you. Right. Mean there's going to be a day you're going to give this up or not be able to do it anymore. You need people to come volunteer. I'm guessing you're not turning any people away who want to come volunteer to help.
No,
with the trail.
And the biggest problem I run into is that they want to volunteer in the worst way, but they've never operated equipment. Or they don't know how to use a chainsaw.
Right, right. So you'd have to learn that. And,
yes. So we do an awful lot of recruiting, but we also do a lot of training.
Yeah, I get that. So again, get back to now. What do you give us what you would normally do? Because we're going to talk about the project that we have coming up. But give us an idea in June what you guys will do. June.
For instance, Clyde, who's our original volunteer, likes to do stuff on Mondays. So one of our newest recruits, Dave Karwoski, just retired. He's about 64 now. And the two of them will go out on a Monday morning around 8 o'clock. And Clyde will ride one tractor. He's got a zero-turn mower. That's another $10,000 expense. And Dave will ride our original tractor we had. And they'll go out at 8. They won't get back till maybe 6 at night. So
10 hours.
Oh, easy.
Mowing.
Yeah, and that's if they don't run into trouble.
That's on a Monday.
On a Monday.
Do they do that every Monday?
Pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah, it's one of these things.
How many miles are we talking?
Well, they'll do, if they get to Round Bottom and back, Round Bottom is about 10 miles from us. That's 20 miles of cutting.
20 miles of cutting.
Right, and a lot of those places are still the original horse track, so there's like 2 or 3 passes.
They have
It's
to
not
make.
just one pass. They have to
So it might be, then it's more than 10 miles that
Right.
they're back and forth and back. I gotcha. Okay, so that's a Monday.
Right.
So what else do we have besides mowing?
We will invariably we'll get tree calls. There's a tree down, and it's always 7 or 8 or 9 miles away from us. Towards Ohio Powell, towards.
So what will you jump in? Will you hop in the truck to go?
Yes.
To
Yes, we'll go out. I've got a couple of guys on call to do that type of stuff.
They'll go out.
One of them lives in Dunbar.
They'll go out with the chainsaws and maybe some chains, right? I mean, a chance you have to attach a chain to the log and move it if it gets...
Sometimes. We just bought a new winch on the front of our truck that's supposed to move about 4 or 5 ton. So some of these trees have to be pulled down because they never fall on the ground. They always fall halfway down, that type of thing. So it's very dangerous, and we try to make sure that they know what they're doing when they go out for something like that. Some of these trees are 18, 20 inches thick, 36, 40 inches around, and that's in the middle.
Okay. And so what else does it take? I mean, trade call. What other maintenance is there? Mowing grass.
Well, we also have to take care of our campground. Our campground that we put in.
That's behind Martin's, correct?
Behind Martin's. We have one there. We also have one at Round Bottom.
Okay.
We've got some shelters in there that we have to kind of maintain and keep clean, because a lot of times they don't clean up when they leave. We've got to cut the grass around that, weed whack, that type of thing. Empty the garbage. We also have an outside toilet. We call it the SST, a sweet-smelling toilet. It's got some type of a vent on it that's supposed to keep the smell down. Well, it doesn't work real well sometimes.
So you have to clean that out.
Well, we have to make sure that the inside part is cleaned out. The paper's off the floor, that's swept out. Change the toilet paper. We go through probably 3 or 4 cases of toilet paper a year in the summertime. And then we have to do the one down at Round Bottom also. There's one down there also.
Wow.
And then we have to empty the tank. The one behind Martin's we do about once a year.
Do you guys do that yourselves, or you hire?
No, we hire people.
You bring a guy that has to with the truck and the.
Correct. Yes. We always get Top Septic on the side of the truck that says we're number 1 in the number 2 business.
Yeah, I think I've seen that truck before. I know there's another guy that's got something else pretty funny on there, dude. So, I mean, it's just on and on. You told me, tell me the amount of volunteer hours a month. You told me, tell everybody the number of those volunteer hours.
We usually do about an average of 300 hours a month.
300 hours a month. Somebody who's full-time works 170, 180 hours.
That's a combination of all the volunteers.
But you're talking about if you had 2 guys working full-time all month long, that's how much it takes. And you guys are volunteering to do this. So, again, they need people. If you're interested in volunteering, just to do anything, I'm sure it would be somebody would go clean the bathrooms or empty the garbage for you would probably be a help. If they didn't know how to run a chainsaw or, run the equipment. I mean, that's something they could.
Just keeping the garbage picked up too. That helps a lot too. I have what I like to call my ghost volunteers, where something looks like it needs done, they just appear, they do it, and they're gone. They disappear. So I never know who they are.
Right. Well, that's nice. Because Ted, I think most of us, including myself, we take for granted how nice our trail is and how well it maintains it is. I mean, I drive over to Martin's, I pull my bike off my rack, I ride to halfway to Ohio Pow or all the way to Ohio Pow and back, and loving life. And we just take it for granted until I met you. That is, I didn't. I don't think people really know how it gets maintained or who did it. I mean, I really didn't know it was you guys and you guys alone. So we talked about your budget's about $95,000. Tell us a little bit about some of your annual expenses that you have.
Well, we just bought a load of fuel. That was $500. To empty the SSTs is around $300 piece.
And then you have a loan on a piece of equipment on.
Our loan is about $1,100 a month that we have to pay. Of course, we have
it's $13,000 a year.
Gas for our trucks and our other mowers.
Maintenance.
That's about $200 to $300 a month we have to pay for gasoline during the summer months, that type of thing. Blades, chains for our chainsaw. I mean, one of those chains that we use is probably $10.
And how do you keep the trail smooth? I mean, do you have to go out there and smooth it over from time to time from getting
We do.
From getting rutted, or
we try to do it every spring, but the last couple of years we weren't able to do that. Now this year we were able to do the whole thing. We had a piece of equipment that was specially made for us, where it's a scraper. It's like a U-shaped.
Yeah, you showed me. I got to get the tour of equipment the other day.
And as it levels off the ruts and that type of stuff, and then we have a roller in the back that's filled with cement that rolls it back down. So
and don't a couple guys stand on the back of that when you do that?
You have to stand in the middle of it because the stuff sometimes...
While it's moving?
While it's moving, yes.
Here, got a couple guys. And how many guys will come out? That process takes how many guys to do that?
Well, we need 3 on there. We need one on the tractor. We need a guy behind using, in case there's some ruts or some stones to get into, we have to use rake, and then we have somebody following us in the truck in case we run into trees or limbs.
Can you do your whole section of trail in a day?
Oh, no.
So how many days would that take?
It took us probably a week.
Wow.
To get it done. Yeah.
So we can see. So those are your expenses. Tell me this, Ted, in your opinion, how important is this trail to our local economy, especially, specifically Connellsville and Fayette County?
Well, to give you something that I have noticed over the last couple of years, in the years that I took over, the city was constantly taking out, and you probably know, they were constantly taking out a tax anticipation.
I was on city council then.
Yes, because you couldn't meet your expenses while you're waiting for the taxes to come in. The last 2 years, they haven't had to do that.
And they're actually paying it back.
Yes, they are.
Because they owed, when I got in council, I think it was $600,000 they owed.
Yes.
And I know they've been making payments on it for years. So it's.
So the last 2 or 3 years, they've ended with black. They've had a fund balance, which is unusual for a small city.
Right.
But, and it's coming because people are coming in spending money.
And back in 1989, and I first came to Connellsville and visited in like 1994 or 5, and it wasn't in great shape, Connellsville. I moved here 13 years ago, and it was not in great shape.
No,
I mean, had empty buildings wherever. We had that building on the corner where we called it the Sky Toilet. Remember, you could see the toilet on the second floor. It was so dilapidated, and I think the trail. I got to think the trail has a lot to do with this town making a pretty good comeback.
Well, just take a look at all the new restaurants that are in town that weren't there back in 1989.
So I was eating at O'Donnell's a couple weeks ago. There were 4 couples that were all spending the night in Connellsville, eating at O'Donnell's, who were heading to
probably Confluence or something.
Confluence, exactly where they were going. They were going to Confluence the next day. And you told me, what do you say? They think 100,000 people come through Connellsville on the trail?
They said that the trail, the Great Antelope Passage, they counted the actual people. They came up to about close to 1 million in the last 3 or 5 years. And they say about 10% of that goes through Connellsville.
About 100,000 people. And I don't think we have a hotel if it's not for the bike trail. I don't know that it would make it. I mean, I know a lot of the bicycles, they stay, a lot of those people, they stay at the hotel.
Yes.
So I don't know if we have a hotel. I don't know how many restaurants we have. I know, you got Kickstand Kitchen that opened up. You got little Ruvo's Italian that's somewhat new.
Those Keaty's opened up because of the trail.
The Keaty's has opened up, obviously.
The panini place.
Colby's?
Colby's, yes. Colby's just opened up last year.
She does smoothies. I'm sure that's pretty big with the...
Yeah. The ice cream shop.
Yeah, ice cream,
yep. The
Trailside.
Froyo.
Yep. Trailside treats. I mean, all of that is basically...
They're right on the trail.
Right on the trail, and they get a lot of...
I had to laugh because Gary Stout, I bought a piece of property down on 3rd Street, and I asked him, I said, Gary, why are you moving from down there? He said, what are you doing? He says, the trail's coming right up through 3rd Street. He says, I'm moving right here. So he got prime real estate right on the corner there of 3rd Street and Crawford Avenue. And that's worked out very well for him. He's made a business of it because he had the foresight to see that this was coming.
That's awesome. So we talked about your budget, $95,000, and which brings us to why you're here today. One of the reasons is we have a new project that's set to begin in the fall, correct?
That's correct.
Will you tell us about that?
Well, the Regional Trail Corporation, which has the rights from Pittsburgh to Connellsville.
That's the Regional
Trail Corporation. They're based in West Newton. They have taken it upon themselves to do each section of the trail and get it redone. And we're the last one that they finally got to because we're at the tail end. So this is our turn. And they have come up with about $225,000 of the $310,000 we need. So I have been beating the bushes, and I've come up with a $36,000 grant from the county that I have to match with $9,000. I came up with the Pennsylvania Environmental Council. I just got a word the other day that came through as a $7,000 grant that I have to match with $8,000.
We need, my understanding is, that you and I discussion, we need $17,000 in matching funds.
Right
and
now.
we're going to get to that in a second.
Yes.
But I want you to tell me what we're doing. What are we doing? What is going to be done to our section of the trail? That costs all that money.
Well, it's going to be the northern Fayette section. We're going to start from Whitsett, which is right on the county line between Westmoreland and Fayette County. The Whitsett section is about 5 miles long, and the poor guys down there, they have very little equipment. They can't keep up with what they can do. plus they're working. You know, they're volunteering, but they're working
right.
also.
You're not like you, who's retired. We say you're retired, but you're not really retired.
So that section has grown in quite a bit. The original trail was 10 feet wide.
Okay.
I think theirs is probably close down to 5.
So we're going to widen it.
We're going to take it back to the original. We're going to resurface that, put new dust and stuff down, take out a lot of the trees and stuff and the vines that's grown in. So that's going to take a lot of that money to do that. And then from their section to ours, so here in Connellsville, there's a lot of pipes, the original railroad drain pipes that used to drain the water underneath the trail, underneath the railroad. They've gotten clogged up. They're filled up with soot.
So are we going to replace those, or are we going to just get in there?
They're going to try cleaning them out. What they can't clean out, they're going to replace.
Okay. So there's another. So that doesn't sound cheap.
No, if they dig, I think they said it was about $5,000 per pipe.
Wow. Okay.
And there's something like 150 pipes.
Wow.
So it's
one of those things we won't know until we start doing it.
Correct. So they're going to try and clean out as many as they can. Also clean the ditches out from both sides so the water will not run over the trail, which is what we have problems with the last couple of years.
And it just washes it away.
It does. So we've had a lot of wash. In fact, we had a washout, a big slide. We cleared it out.
You say a slide of rocks,
dirt,
and dirt and trees that come in.
Trees, yes.
Okay.
It flowed over the trail, about 2 miles of it, and it was hip deep. So we had to take that out. All those the trees were huge. They were mixed in with the mud. So we got all that cleared out. We got a grant. We resurfaced that trail. Following year, did the same thing.
Oh man! So this is gonna eliminate that from happening again, hopefully.
Right. So we have all that to do. We have a big rock slide that's about a mile from Connellsville that just came down this past spring. We've got a couple of 2-ton boulders, 2 or 3-ton boulders that are sitting right at the edge of the trail. So we want to get rid of those. So that's part of it also, is breaking that up and disposing it. And I was telling him that there's a section at Adelaide where the Dunbar Township supervisors, and I'm not sure who did it, but they were going to put a new drain system in, but they put the drain about a foot above the ditch. So it's always full of water. It never drains out. So we're going to redo that whole section, that whole ditch, and get rid of all that type of stuff. So it's going to look a lot better than it does now, and hopefully it'll be that way for the next decade or so.
You think this will take care of 10 years?
I'm hoping.
So total cost of this project?
$318,000.
And we need to get $17,000.
That's only.
But we got to get $17,000 to get those matching grants.
Correct.
Okay, so that's where I'm coming in. I found this out that we were doing this and that you were trying to raise money, and I reached out to you, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. I love the trail, and so I wanted to interview you and get I think it's great to get a history, and so people really do understand what goes into this. It doesn't just show up. Trail just doesn't show up and maintain itself.
I always said that it takes about a week or two to build a trail. It takes 100 years to maintain it.
That's right. 100. Yeah, it's going to take. So again, I own the health insurance store. I'm the president and founder. So we are going to get involved in what we've discussed. Ted, you and I have discussed, but I want to make sure that everybody knows what we're going to do here. Started yesterday or on June 1st through August 31st. We're going to donate $10 for every health and Medicare policy that is sold at both of our locations here in Connellsville, and we have an office in Forest Hills, Pittsburgh area. And we're going to donate $50 for every life insurance policy that we write as well for 3 months. We're hoping we're hoping to do, in that time, we're hoping to do about 600 policies. And then, so not everybody needs life or health insurance or Medicare insurance. So we wanted to set up where people outside who didn't need those services can contribute. So any donations that are made at our office here in Connellsville or Forest Hills, if you wanted to donate there and you want to come in and give us cash or write a check. And we're working on a donation online right now. Yep. Hopefully it'll be up. So that will go on our website, which I'll give out here in a moment. If you donate in either office or on the website, we're going to match that up to $2,500 as well.
That's wonderful.
So what we're hoping is that we get donations well above $2,500 because our goal is to raise that $17,000 by September 1st.
That would help a lot.
And we can use more than that. Can we not, Ted? I mean, it's not like if we get to 17,000, we should be done. I mean, there's still costs next year and the year after. We don't know what disaster, what rainstorm or windstorm or other unfortunate event that could happen that.
Well, my favorite saying is that nature is a mother. She never gives up. So, in fact, there's one project that we have pinned, scheduled for November. It's a big garbage slide that came down last March. And we've been trying to get this mitigated for a whole year now. So we've finally gotten to the point where we've gotten Waste Management to donate dumpsters. But we don't have the equipment to pull the garbage off the hill and fill the dumpsters.
So we need money for that.
That's about a $15,000 project.
So, again, the goal is $17,000 this summer to raise June, July, August. I got a good feeling we're going to get there. Connellsville is a generous, has always been generous. Fayette County. So again, if you need health so we're asking you to buy more health, Medicare, and life insurance because, again, the Health Insurance Store will donate $10 for every health and Medicare policy that we write and $50 for every life insurance policy that we write. We're going to match $2,500 in cash donations, but I'm hoping we can get a lot more than that people will come into the office or go on our website, which is www.getyourbestplan.com. That is the website, getyourbestplan.com. And I've got one of our IT guys and our social media guys, Jay here and Brandon and Tim, are working on that and hopefully have that up soon. Really quickly, in case you don't know what we do at the Health Insurance Store, we are brokers, so to speak. So we only do health insurance. We just started to get into the life insurance as well, but we are brokers, so you can get any company that sells medical or health insurance and pretty much life insurance. We are appointed to sell those products, so we are a one-stop shop. So you don't need to, unlike property and casualty, where you have State Farm, that's their own agency, and Allstate and Farmers, and we are kind of all under that one umbrella. So when you come and do business with the Health Insurance Store, we can show you policies and plans from all of those companies. So that is what we do. We are at 121 North Pittsburgh Street here in Connellsville. We are 21 Yost Boulevard in Forest Hills, and that is Ardmore Boulevard or Route 30. It's right off the park where you can get there on Route 30 going through Irwin and those areas. There you can get there as well. But again, if you want to just stop in the office and make your donation, please do that. Again, we need $17,000 by September 1st, and we need a lot more. I think it would be great if we reach that goal and even.
We'll find somewhere to spend it.
And listen, when you say that, Ted, it's not like you're going to spend it to waste. No. It's not like a government agency where you get your budget and you don't give. If you're given $1 million budget at a government agency, they spend that money. They'll find out on stuff that's frivolous. We're not there. There's no way you would spend that money on something. This money is going to be used for something to improve or fix or maintain.
Well, and our council is very, very frugal as far as what they. I get to go through them if we want to spend on anything, and we pick things apart. Very carefully. When can we afford to do this? Can we do this one? What needs done? That type of thing.
And you guys have a website, correct?
Yes, we do.
What is it?
YoughRiverTrail.com.
YoughRiverTrail.com. YOUGH Rivertrail.com.
Correct.
You are also on Facebook.
Yes.
And that is Yough
Bike Trail
on Facebook. Yeah. So you want to visit the website and take a look at what they do and what they got going on. I was down on Saturday, and you took me into the garage and showed me all the equipment. I mean, it's big time stuff. It's not like we can go out there with a broom and a rake and a shovel and get this done. It just doesn't work. No. It just doesn't work that way. 100,000 people coming through. We need to, it's going to wear and tear. And, like you said, the Mother Nature does a job on us.
Yes, it does.
Now, last year we had that drought. Was that good for the trail, bad for the trail? Was it made your job easier? I mean, how much tougher does it get if we have a lot of rain?
If we get a lot of rain, the trees let go by the roots. If it's really dry, they dry out and break off.
Because it was unbelievable dry summer last year here.
Yes, it was. And it helps with the grass cutting, but the trees never stop growing. So they grow in to the trail. We're constantly cutting those things off. We have a pretty good 10-foot flail mower that's on a boom arm, and it could cut 10 feet above, 10 feet to the other side.
And that's also what we're going to be doing on the project, too,
Correct.
is doing a lot of that as well.
Clearing the canopy, they call that.
All right. Well, Ted, anything else you want to tell everybody before we...
I'd like to say I'm very grateful for your offer. It's a wonderful organization down here. we thank you all for doing this.
We're happy to do it.
Aaron's always up and cheerful and willing to jump in at both feet on all this type of stuff. You've been great over the years.
Thank you.
I do appreciate this.
You got it. Well, this is our summer project. Last year it was the basketball league. This year it's the trail.
Yeah, and we try to give back.
Renovation.
Our idea is to bring people into Connellsville to help the economy. That's why we do.
And that's why that's why I said you're one of the most important people in Connellsville.
Not really.
Well, hey, listen, if you didn't do this, and what's scary is if you decide not to, and like you said, the youngest people on the council are 60.
Yes.
We need some youth. We need some people that are going to learn this from you. And continue this tradition. So thanks for everything you do, Ted. It's unbelievable. I had no idea. And then you're down there on Sunday, or Saturday. You were down there volunteering with your wife at the Geranium Festival because she runs the garden club.
I got drafted. Yes.
I was down there too with some boys that were volunteering to carry flowers. But we appreciate everything you do. Again, YoughRiverTrail.com.
Correct.
YoughRiverTrail.com. Yough River Bike Trail on Facebook.
Yes.
And then our website at the Health Insurance Store is www.getyourbestplan.com. GETYOURBESTPLAN.com. I know that's a mouthful. Again, we will have the donation tab up very soon, I hope, Jay, next week or probably next week maybe. At the latest. Come on in to the Health Insurance Store and make a donation too. We'd love to see your face.
Yes,
and again,
please come in and great people down here. You want to see them.
You got to pet the dogs. We got dogs, and again, we're going to match those donations that are made online or at the store up to $2,500. So every dollar that you give is really like donating $2 to really one of the great causes in Connellsville. I mean, our trail makes Connellsville somewhat famous. I mean, that is what we are famous for, is our bike trail.
We're one of the few cities that the trail actually runs through it. A lot of times they're off to the
right. It actually runs through downtown. You have to literally cross what is our main street, Crawford Avenue, to get from one side of the trail to the next. So, Ted, again, thanks for coming in. This was real fun. And maybe we'll have you back in and give us an update and when things get started.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for having me.